Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wealthing Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have Justin here. Justin, thank you so much for spending this hour with us.
Thanks for having me, Alicia.
So, Justin and I met way back when I was living in Australia and he was living in San Diego, and it was through Fiverr. I needed somebody to help me with some things, and he really liked what we was doing, and we developed this incredible friendship. And I love what he's doing. Justin, tell us, what are you doing now, and how did you get to do this?
So right now I'm doing a lot of things I need to I need to focus. But yeah, we developing video games, multiple video games at once, and then I have an event coordinating showcase company that helps developers and entrepreneurs get visibility for their games, right? Get match make with partners like PlayStation, Xbox, publishers, and investors. And that all kind of happened because of being a developer. I have a development team myself, who were looking to find better ways to market our games and like get connections to basically fund the games. So yeah, so things have been progressing, with and changing because the industry is changing. Like we started off with a small mobile game, and then we wanted to go to console, so we got into this accelerator in San Francisco, and then we developed that game. And thanks to Alicia, who helped to fund that game and the company initially, we actually released the game, jumped in with our first publisher. That was our first investment that we ever had, which gave us a lot of knowledge and experience on understanding how to move forward with that. And then from that, we started the company's called Interabang Entertainment, and then the event coordination team is called the Mix, the Media Indie Exchange, and that just kind of took off on its own, which kind of split my company into two different teams. And then basically I started it as another organization, which is great. And it's kind of allowed me to go around the world. Like we did a showcase in Taipei and Taiwan. We partnered with the Taiwanese government. We've been to Japan. We have an event in Japan, Bit Summit, which we've been doing every year. We're going to do it again. Cologne. We've done an event in Cologne, like Gamescom, and then been all over the city, or not all over the city, all over the United States too, in that region. So, and it's really created a lot of opportunities to communicate with 1,000+ developers, understand what they're going through, help them out, and then also a ton of publishers, and like know the landscape and create great partnerships and sponsorships, and kind of understand, like, be at the ground level of where things are happening
In the video game industry.
in the game industry. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And but you didn't grow up in that industry. So what made you move from what you were doing before? And I know what you were doing before, but the people that are listening don't know what you're doing before. So your path to doing this was not a straight line. So
No, not at all.
what happened that you started moving into something that you were passionate about?
Well, it actually was in that. So I went, not to go too far into it, but I went to an art high school, music and um, fine art, visual art. And so I always wanted to do like comic books, or film or illustration or animation. And so when I got out of high school, I randomly went into psychology because I couldn't find where to like was there a school for that for animation, that kind of thing. They didn't really exist as much
Mhm.
then when I graduated. So I was a autism specialist for 6 years
Oh,
during
wow.
that. Yeah, during that time, then the Art Institute popped up, and they had a game program. So then I jumped into the game program, and then I started to learn a lot about creating video games and like what is that about. Most of it was art, focused on art, so
Mhm.
3D art and design. So
Mhm.
then when I got my uh um undergrad degree, I went out into the game industry pretty much immediately. Within the first 6 months of graduating, I got a job at a large, like a AAA gaming studio. And then it was all focused on like 3D art, which I really wanted to be a producer and like a director and designer. Wasn't really, even though I love art, I didn't want to like make backgrounds forever. And that's what kind of was like pigeonholed. And that's what these huge companies do. It's like you have to make trees and then you
Mhm.
have to, now there's systems and you don't do that anymore. But so that's where I kind of met you, was when I was like, I got laid off and then I started doing it freelance, doing 3D art for games freelance. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to start my own company because I've always been kind of a entrepreneur, have that mindset. And then so what I would do was I had a couple of mentors who were like, I just because I'm pretty decent in graphic design. I was like, I will redo your logo. I'll do your website. I'll code it by
Yeah.
hand. And that's what I was doing. I was coding websites by hand and doing the graphic design. And for you, I did video editing and then cover art and
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. And what I was doing was it was Elance too before it was Fiverr, which was hilarious. And so a friend of mine, we had a company called Wormwood Studios, and it was like three of us, and we were just like working on Elance and getting these jobs. And the jobs were like not paying a lot, but at the time we
Yeah.
were broke, so it was like $100 here, $200 there. We were able to like pay rent every month. So we got into the top 10% actually of Elance, which was pretty great because we're very consistent. And then I met you, and then I basically said, "Hey, can you be my mentor in exchange for helping you?" And you even paid me anyway, but like that's what I was doing a lot of. I was asking people to. There's only a couple people. It was you and Clint to invest some time into helping me understand certain aspects of entrepreneurship and, building a business and what, how to maneuver. And so that's kind of how it started. But then what happened was I was tired of, I think by the time I met you and Clint, I was like, I knew the trajectory was I wanted to actually develop games. So this
Yeah.
was just a means to an end.
Yeah.
And so I started focusing on how do I do that? And then I jumped in to get my master's degree. I started the master's program for game production and management. And then that's kind of what the way the kind of trajectory went, because I knew I wanted to be a designer. I knew I wanted to be a director and make original things.
Yeah, I remember those conversations. I was living in Australia, and I think by then, because my life was kind of crazy for a while. I was living in Australia and working in Denmark, but I remember having a conversation with you because you're so talented at so many things, which I'm not. And but I said, being talented at something doesn't mean that you're passionate about something. You want to develop something. But I remember having that conversation with you, and you didn't even have to think about it. I said, I want to do video games. And I said, well, that's what you should do. So if you're going to be working towards something, that's what you should do. Do you think that has paid off? Do you think working on video games have made
It
it?
totally. I mean, from this point, I've helped to release, man, I don't even know, 8, 9 games. Even though like the Interabang games, we haven't done a lot from Interabang. We've released probably three, but then we've recently over the past 2, 3 years, we've helped other people develop games. And then
Mhm.
I started a publishing label where we were doing the Nickelodeon. We did the Rugrats game, and then we did a couple other games. We have a couple other games in development, and then we've raised a decent amount of money. I'm not saying like monumental, but a few million to help pay for those things.
Mhm.
It's just a learning process. It's been right now, it's been like pretty much like 18 years of work getting into the place where I have a really solid network and that kind of thing. And we do with the mix, I do a lot of consultation or consulting with people and are able to help people find developers, help people find publishing deals, that kind of thing. So, I mean, that in that regard, it's, yeah, totally. Like now we're, I won't say it's like completely self-sustainable. I'm still in the process of like, what is our focus going to be and like understanding, how to sell games and like that kind of thing. But it was totally worth it. Like, I'm meeting now. I'm in a place where I'm meeting like idols. You know what I mean? Like people who
Well,
made,
you're an idol. You just don't know it.
yeah, I don't know it, but you know what I mean? Like my favorite
Yeah.
games, I'm like now like rubbing shoulders with some of those people and able to talk to them and them give me advice, which is pretty nuts now. And kind of realize they're just people and they figured out their own path and then focus
Uh-huh.
and then got to that path. And I wouldn't say it's luck, but it does have a little bit to do with how they find their thing, and just understanding what the opportunities are. So
Yeah, yeah. If you were to write yourself a note, your younger self, like 20 years ago, uh, what would you tell your younger self that you learned that you didn't know then?
I would say like maybe get rid of like don't have so much doubt,
Mhm.
self-doubt in what you can do, you know. Because I think there was a lot of like second guessing. I don't know if that has to do with, and I'm not going to say my family or anything like that, but a lot of friends went to went to these huge companies. Man, I should have went to the huge companies. Like I could have got six figures and stuff like that. I didn't really listen to it, but it does come with a lot of, kind of beating yourself up a little bit. Like I
Mhm.
could have done that, but it's funny though because now that I'm talking to people who now got laid off because there's a lot of layoffs in the industry and they don't kind of know how to operate because they're so used to that check and then
Mhm.
focusing on this really small thing that they don't have the other additional skills that will help them prosper as far as even if they wanted to be a solo entrepreneur and you know work for someone else and like handle all of their money and their business and sales and like all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's like just maybe more positive self-talk and
Mhm.
like you got this. And then also the other thing is, and this is what I'm learning now. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but
Uh-huh.
the kind of like uh shiny object syndrome, whereas right now, like what I've learned a lot is like when you start to get into position where you actually have leverage, there's these opportunities that just keep coming.
Mhm.
But when you don't have anything and you're coming from nothing and you're broke, I'm, oh, thank you. Um, and when you have nothing and you're broke, you don't have those opportunities. So when they come, at least me personally, I start reaching to grab every one, but then that actually, you know, magnifies the cracks that you have in the things that you need to fix. And then also it diminishes the value that you can give or the focus that you can have on what your current trajectory is. So it's like these weird, it's like you're going straight, but then you go here, it's going to take you longer to get to your goal because you keep reaching for these opportunities and you can't really maximize them until you are at your highest point because then you have more capital, then you have more leverage, then you can actually hire people or partner with people who are on your level that can like make those things work. You know what I mean? So I think that that's the biggest lesson that I'm like really that I learned the last probably 3 4 years is I kind of let those things go that are not maybe the best opportunities. Just focus. Then maybe those things will come by later.
Oh, that's so wise. I've also learned that, and I didn't have the imposter syndrome. I had the delusional syndrome. I always say that, I always thought I could do anything. And for me, it was very confusing when people didn't trust me. So I never let somebody's doubt get into my mind. But what was very frustrating to me, and it still is the lack of trust in what I can and cannot do. And I never heard that shiny object thing. Could you, because I have my own explanation of something that might or might not be similar to that, but I want to hear more. And I think people need to hear more of that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what you meant by the shiny object and how do normal people manage that? Because we don't talk about these things.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that again, it's like if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you're always looking at the opportunities.
Hmm.
And to clarify, I don't think like the self-doubt is interesting, and I'll go back to where we're at, but the self-doubt part is interesting because it's I am delusional. I think I don't
You
want to say I'm delusional because
are.
if you aren't, you can't move.
You
There's
can't,
no
yeah.
way.
Yeah,
There's
you
because
get
this is like
stuck in your box that life put you in when you started. Yeah.
yeah, I would not go anywhere. I would have got a regular job because like you have to have a level of delusion. I think entrepreneurs have to have a level of
Yeah.
delusion. So I think it's mostly just maybe not that, but like beating myself up when things didn't go right. Like,
Mhm.
and I actually did that like last week when it wasn't that it was like we got the game out and the reviews have been mixed. We've had like 8.5, eights, which is great, right? Like it's not a 9 or a 10, but it's 8, 7.5. But then what I chose to focus on is the people who said five and people who were
Mhm.
talking stuff. Why? It's not necessary because actually there's more positive than there was negative, but I choose to focus on the negative, like that kind of thing. But the shiny thing is like you get a level of success and you're like really blasting forward and then people are starting to hit you up because they recognize that. And when you see that, it's like, oh my God, all my life I wanted to work on this particular property or this thing. But you're already working on something. So like, can you really multiply yourself or find people to multiply yourself?
Mhm.
The delusion comes in like if you aren't there yet, if you haven't done enough like project or work or you know helped to foster teams and production, then you're gonna fail in some of those things. So if you take something on, you take on like 4 or 5 different things, which that's what we did basically. And I'm not gonna say we failed because we released multiple games, but I think the thing is like, um, it would have probably been better and more profitable if we were to like, hey, let's just focus on this for
Mhm.
2 years instead of focus on four for 5 years
Yeah.
because then we could focus on making it successful in every aspect of it unless you have other partners
Yeah.
instead of like now I know every part of the business and then I know how to partner with a good sales team with a good marketing team with a good PR team because we did a consorted push for this one particular product or these two particular products instead of like six because then now you're kind of fragmented and
Yeah.
you have something that's cool in each one but they're not focused enough for it to be like it to be it's like it's going to take you twice as long to get where you want to go. So that's kind of what I mean by, and I think that this happens especially for people who are um don't have opportunities in the past because now you're it's not it's like what I like to call like opportunity greed. It's like now you have these opportunities. You have like a lack. You have like a not an abundance mind state, and so you're like, I got to take all these things while I can But the thing is, you can't execute them to their highest potential if you try to take on too much stuff. And then what you end up like disappointing people, and then it could potentially, affect your reputation
Yeah.
when it comes, and that kind of thing. So fortunately, that really hasn't happened. But I'm seeing that if I kept going in the trajectory that I was going, is I would just keep reaching for these things and then not be able to execute properly, and then it could damage the outcome of the relationships that I have, and then just in the business, and just your own like mental, well-being is not good when you're trying to do too much, and then one of the balls drops, or like what maybe one of the things, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
fails, or one of your partners or the money comes through, because then you're going to have to put all your energy, this one thing that's going good, now I have to put my energy into figuring out how to pay for this one thing when this thing was going so well. Oh
Yeah.
shit, like, oh my bad, I don't know if I could curse, but you're like, oh crap, like now I got to take it from this, and then this thing falls apart, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's that kind of mentality, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder what would be the solution, because what I see is and now I have a team, is I always look for what is next for me. So the one thing that both you and I have in common is the is seeking excellence. So I'm not satisfied with something that is mediocre, but at some time, sometimes you're like, okay, this is the best that I could do. I need to move on to the next one. And I don't know if having only if having that focus um, prevents you from getting more things done. I don't know what the answer is, but I certainly know that I am much better because I've done a ton of different things. And when I speak about investing, which is what I do often now, and I invest a lot, the capacity to connect the dots, like you say, I know this person, I know this, and to weed out the people that are either not talented, or people that are not interested, or people that are bluffing. It's very important. I wouldn't be able to do that if I had not failed or gone through all these challenges, or failed to select people that I think, okay, I'm going to do this because this person can help me. But I think the expectation that everything that we do is going to be excellent makes us a different type of entrepreneur. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at the other time. Going back to all the things that you do at the mix, the
Hmm.
things that you do in Interabang, and the people that you know, I really like what you're doing with underrepresented, or not underrepresented really, but with video game developers that are indie video game developers. Because uh, first of all, because it's a new industry for me, and it's a lot of fun. Is the creative part that I don't see that much in biology and physics, but also because you add a lot of value to the ecosystem, and you don't take all that value to yourself. So I really appreciate that. But then my question now is about wealth. It's about how do we create wealth? And my philosophy is we cannot create wealth if we don't distribute it. So it's not about being wealthy, it's about becoming wealthy and growing the ecosystem. So I want to ask you a question about that. How do you think you are creating wealth? How do you think we are all creating wealth? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one of the questions is like, how do I create it for myself after helping creating it for others? Because that's a different topic. But
Mhm. Yeah.
with what we've done for the mix over, it's been 15 years, which is nuts. Is we've helped to create millionaires. Like there's some developers that got started at our events, and now they they made a connection there with a particular publisher, a particular funder, or they just, when they were, and I'm not going to attribute it just to us, but I've had people come up to me and say, "Hey, if we didn't go to your event, I wouldn't have been able to connect with the people with my small game, which wouldn't have led me to my own path to
Hmm.
create more games, and then to, do publishing, and to like create other merch and all these other things, and and become successful as they are now, right? It's just like a spark that helps people, and then consistently helping the same developers that actually, you know, communicate the value that have great, first of all, like have really great games, but then also communicate with us or me that this is actually helpful to them to keep supporting them.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, and that just happens a lot. Like we do these events, we have like the most amazing people in one space, and then things just happen when you have that many great people in the space. Or over the years, because I've been doing it so long, I have a lot of connections with like, people, how it is. Like now I have a very network based mindset, and then there's a level of reciprocity that comes to that. So if I find a game that, and I don't benefit, I don't try to take
Yeah.
money from it, but I will be like, oh, this, how it clicks. Like, oh, I just
Yeah.
talked to
Yeah.
this
Okay.
guy.
Mhm.
This person's just asking for this action adventure game from a really like great team. Then I'll just put two and two together. They do a deal. There's a kid. um he's not a kid anymore, but I'm like old now, so older. So
We're not
like,
talking age.
and we're not, yeah. But there's a guy who I loved his stuff, and we had him at a showcase, and he was working on his next project. I was like, this project is so amazing, and he was like, hey, what should I do? And I was like, you should go with this publisher. And then he started talking to them, and then he gave me their contract, and he was asking me, oh, I don't think this is fair. I'm like, dude, I look at all these contracts from all these other publishers. This is amazing, and your game is going to sell. They're going to help you become
Yeah.
a millionaire. Like, so don't. I've talked to them. They're good people. Do this deal. And he had like three other deals, and he did the deal, and he's now made millions off of his game. So like, it's those kind of things that are satisfying, like in communicating with some of these folks who may not have had a mentor, or are floundering or thinking too much about it.
Hmm.
So doing that and adding value to the space and the ecosystem has helped me, has helped other people, but then also has helped me. I believe right now, if something happens tomorrow and all of my business falls, like goes out the window or comes crashing down, I will never struggle for a job. Like I won't be on LinkedIn, like, putting out resumes and all this
Wow.
crap, right? Like, because I know so many publishers, they know that the value that I bring. So I could just contact a few people and be like, okay, I'm having hard times. Let me add value to your company by doing this, which it's not a safety net, but it feels like one that is organic, that I've put together because I've distributed so much value to people and been very upfront and straightforward.
That's fantastic. I'm gonna quote you on this month's newsletter. Um, we just started publishing our newsletter in LinkedIn last month instead of keeping it to our members. And I went to an event on Monday at Plug and Play. It was C3 Davos Healthcare. I mean, health in general, health investments, healthcare. There's nothing about health and there's nothing about care in the U.S. healthcare system. So I'm very vocal about that. But this
But
was a
tell me about it. I'm dealing
yeah,
with that with my mom. It's
yeah. I mean,
horrible.
it's just mind boggling. But this guy, and I feel bad about not quoting him because it had a politician tint to it. But so I don't want to put a name to it. But he said, some events or some people are like tsunamis. They come in and they crush everything. Some are like a wave, go up and they come down and then disappear. But there's some people that are like ripples. And the ripple effect continues and continues and continues and continues and creates this massive amount of change and progress. And that's going to be the topic of this newsletter.
Oh, that's cool.
And I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what you're doing. And the other thing is that in another event, somebody was talking about founders and how do we find founders. And this person said the relationship between an investor and a founder is not a dot, it's a line. So you connect and you disconnect and you connect. And even if you don't invest, which has happened to me and to us, last year, out of 12 investments that we did seven that were follow-ons, but the three companies of the new companies were companies that we have been connected for years. And I see that. So you build a relationship. It's not a transaction. You build a relationship. You get to know the people. And I really enjoy that part. And I think that that combination of the ripple effect and the constant connection builds ecosystems. And that's what we need, especially now with AI, where everything is so transactional.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting is like people, if you're good to people and you're providing value, the good people, everyone talks about, oh, these guys are, business people, capitalism, all this stuff. It's all, everyone hates each other, or not everyone hates each other, but like something like they're all evil and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't remain in a position if you're evil, typically, right? In the industry, like, because what I've seen over the past 18 years are the people that I met here that are still here, even though they may seem like asses because they're pretty straightforward or whatever, they do add value and they do good by people. And then I'm starting to like see people who are, in their late 50s and, early 60s or whatever, who I looked up to. And now we're at I'm not saying we're here because they have like this network, value. That's
Maybe
real.
you're there, you just don't realize it.
Yeah, but now I can have conversations with them and they don't bat an eye. Back when I was like in college or whatever, they would be like, "Who's this like kid?" I used to go to like these E3 when that was around and wear a I used to wear a blazer just to act like I was a producer, and I had my own card and I would talk to the producers and stuff like that. It's like ridiculous, but that's how I like try to figure out how to get in. But
Mhm.
now I'm like talking to these guys and I knew them a long time ago and I thought that this dude's an ass. Like I'll never like this guy. Now I'm like talking to them like this guy, oh my God, he's got so much wisdom. He's like giving me, and also now he's like, you paid your dues. You're like, okay, this guy actually is doing stuff in the industry. So now this guy's like this dude Justin, basically, he's super cool. Like everybody knows him, and not me, but another Justin. And now he's like helping me out, getting connected for sponsorships. Like, oh, you should work with you got to work with this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those things are real, you know. As you keep moving up, and then like also it's not like scratching and like clawing your way and backstabbing. It's like, no, you're providing value, you're helping other people out, they help you out, you connect the dots. And I guess basically what I was saying in a really weird roundabout way is it is a line, but people move up and how
Mhm.
many times have we, I know you're there, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not like Alicia's gone, except for that one time when I think you're a little bit mad. But like, but I knew that it would, you know, line
Yeah,
up
it's
again.
okay.
It
Yeah.
is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, but you
I don't
fall.
even remember that, to be honest.
I
I
remember it
remember
because
I remember I was mad at you, but that is the thing. People sometimes they remember they get upset, but they don't remember what caused them to be
yeah,
upset.
you get back. Yeah, you connect and then you reconnect and then you're, you if you're vibing with someone or you know that you're both in a good space,
Yeah.
they're there. It's weird unless it's like you said, it's transactional. I'm never transactional, and if I feel myself going in that way, I pull myself back and make sure that the other person knows it's like this is not, because like you mentioned, like you're so fixated on an outcome, it destroys relationships and it actually destroys what you're doing, because what ends up like happening is a lot of times it doesn't work out, like funding or whatever, but just because it's
Yeah.
not a good time. But
Yeah.
then like 3 years later, they're like, oh my God, I just got like, and this has happened to me before when like PlayStation or someone was like, look, we got $250,000. We need to spend it. Do you know someone? Because it's like they're hitting their fiscal or something.
Yeah.
And then I'll hit someone up that I didn't have any opportunities before. I'm like, yo, I could get you $250,000 within a month. I need you to get your deck together. I'm going to send it over to them, and they're going to pull the trigger. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff that just randomly feels like it happens out of the blue, but they already know you. They know your work. They know that you can actually. execute. And so
Mm-hmm.
these things happen, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, this has been such a fun conversation. I want to wrap up with a question that is very philosophical, and I think you know that I died when I was 13. I fell off a horse and I died, and then I woke up 4 days later, and
Wow.
it was it's interesting. I mean, I say that all the time. It's better than the monkey story. That I'm not going to go into the monkey story. The monkey that bit me. That's another story.
What? Okay, you gotta
That's another podcast. Yeah, he got into my house and attacked me and my kids,
Wow, that's
and
crazy.
yeah, yeah. But I did survive that one too. But the thing is that when I was very young, I mean, I was a teenager, and I had the opportunity to realize that I'm here temporarily, and
Yeah.
that really changed the way I view life. Because when you see yourself dead, you know that you're done. And then ever since I woke up, I see life with magic. I wake up every morning thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I have another day to live, and it's a gift. And but I always think about who I am when I'm dead or when I'm no longer here. And this is the last question for my guests is have you thought about who are you when you're not here in time or space? There's a lot of people that are going to come and listen to this, but they don't have the opportunity to meet you, or they have not had the opportunity to meet you, but you're something to them. So what is Justin's essence? And who are you when you're no longer here? What do you leave? What do you leave behind?
Oh, wow. I think what I leave behind is that would persist. Oh my God, this is really hard.
Oh, come on. Just
I
don't
don't know,
start
like
crying.
I don't like a force of nature that you could push through anything and that you can be on it, like extremely honest and helpful to other people. And it's not you mentioned like transactional, it doesn't have to be transactional. Like you want to give as much as you can to as many people as possible, you know? And I think that that is the root of not to just focus on business. That's the root of business. That's the root of love. That's the root of, I think, life is like giving as much as you can. But then you have to make sure that you are also giving yourself enough that it pours over to the world as well. Um, and I think if a lot of people, you know, adopted that kind of mentality, I think we would all be better. And I think, and I don't ever fault anyone for not having that mentality. I think they're just not there yet. Um, but if we did, or if people saw the things that that I'm doing and could take from that, I think I think it would be, I don't know, I think it would be a better place, but I think that people would remember the things that I've done in that capacity. Like I just push as hard as I can, you know, and help as many people as possible.
Yeah, I know you do. Justin, thank you so much for being with us. How do people contact you? What is the best way?
You can contact me on LinkedIn, Justin Woodward, and through the mix at Indie Exchange on X and at Media Indie Exchange on every other platform. We have a social media person, but I'm always there lurking and jumping in and answering people's questions and things like that.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to start asking LinkedIn to give me some kind of advertisement and sponsoring because everybody's like LinkedIn. We always wrap up with LinkedIn.
It's
It's like,
funny because it's just I guess your platform is like that's where it's easy.
yeah,
You know what's funny is I actually default I don't even carry business cards anymore.
I don't do
It's
that either. It's all LinkedIn.
I do the little barcode, the what is it called? QR code,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. I do the
I
same.
just do that thing, and then people message me there and I'm pretty quick to respond because emails are just cluttered.
Yeah,
I can't
I think
I
so.
can't I'm terrible at
We
emails.
were just talking about that. I'm like, 206,
Yeah.
is it 2,600 emails unanswered, and also because we had the conferences. Justin, what a pleasure. Love talking to you, catching up. We both have grown so much since we
Yeah.
met, and it's been a fascinating journey. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. It's a true statement to human relationships. I met Justin when I was in Australia working as a public speaker or international speaker, and then I went to work in Denmark. Then I moved here to Silicon Valley. He was in San Diego. He had a great team. He moved here. He didn't have any money, so we just have been you know, relating for a long period of time. He got married. He knows my kids. I had a lot of fun going to video game conferences because I'm a scientist. So I used to do something in biology or in physics, very serious. And the whole video game industry is extremely interesting and full of magic and creativity. And I don't play video games. My grandkids love it. So I hope you enjoy this. Please make some comment, connect with Justin if you want to get more information about the video game industry. If you know anybody who's a video game developer, he runs The Mix, which is a lot of fun. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation. This is your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.